My name is Mercedes Schneider, and this video is intended to be a supplement to the December 17, 2013 Michigan State Board of Education testimony that I did in a previous 5-minute video segment. I really wanted to offer something to Michigan parents who are concerned about the prospect of a state-run system like Louisiana's Recovery School District. I understand that you call this an achievement district, that part of the questioning concerns the use of letter grades and issues of open enrollment. Run the other way is what I'm going to tell you regarding all three of these ideas. Now here's why I'm going to say that to you. First off, Louisiana charter schools, they are not regulated schools. The superintendent, John White, does not regulate the schools. In fact, in the recent charter audit, it was suggested that he do so, and his response was that he would not be performing site visits because of budget cuts. And so the schools don't get site visits. There was a real joke about the charter schools and their pre-testing their students. The pre-tests were a year and a half late conducted on their students, and the regulations are really rather slim. Our State Board of Education president, Chaz Romer, his sister is the one who's in charge of the Louisiana Charter School Association, and so there's a bit of nepotism there. You can imagine how that plays out. The charter schools, I had mentioned in my testimony that we have selective enrollment charters. Some of our magnet schools were taken over and turned into charter schools, and those get mixed in, especially when it comes time to announce the grading of the schools, and those creaming charters really help raise the overall charter school profile, but it still isn't enough, because many of the charters that are open enrollment and that are state run are faring poorly. There's high turnover of those charters. When I look at the school letter grades, those charters are allowed to not be graded until the 3rd year, which means for our school letter grades, they get a T. It's a free pass for 2 years. And then in the 3rd year, they're only required to have a D. And if they don't get that, they can still continue if our State Board of Education decides as much. And I will tell you, our State Board of Education has been bought out. I've written about these things on my blog, and I will include the blog address as part of the video announcement for this video on YouTube. It's also in the background of the testimony. If you Google my name, you can find my blog, Mercedes Schneider. So the charters, the grades, it really is a farce. Many of the charters are scoring D and F. Now, this year, the school performance scores were massaged such that bonus points were given to schools with high concentrations of students who were not able to score basic on the state test. Now, I want you to really think about what I'm saying. If their students did not perform, the schools got bonus points so that their school letter grades were raised. Even still, after 8 years, the Recovery School District does not have a single A school. It has a few B schools, and now with the raising of the grade due to this special bonus point situation, it has a number of C schools. And nationally, that is very good for those promoting privatization, because they can say, oh look, RSD improved. Now, I want to tell you that when they took over these schools, they were not singing the improvement song. They were singing the "we're going to make this a model district" song. And there are no A's and B. This is not an A and B district. I want you to understand that. Now, I also want you to understand that I really don't believe in letter grades, because I've actually crunched research on my own computer that what these letter grades capture is the socioeconomics of the school. And the schools that tend to have fewer students on free and reduced lunch have higher letter grades, generally speaking, and those that have more have lower letter grades, generally speaking. So it has nothing to do with the quality of the school or the quality of the teachers or how the schools run, for better or worse. Now, the charter turnover and those schools that are not not given letter grades and are given T grades, there's some issue there too, because they're only supposed to have T grades for 2 years and get a letter grade the 3rd year. But there is one school that I know of that has been given a T grade, and I said, oh, look, it's turned over, because when the charter schools don't work out, they turn over and they turn over and over again. And someone said, no, it didn't turn over. Well, what that meant is it's been given T grades for more years than it's supposed to receive T grades. So there's a problem there too. I want you to understand that the charters never convert back to traditional schools. These districts, like RSD, one of the names for them is a turnaround district. And the idea when RSD was started was that the schools would be turned around and they would be returned to their original districts. But that is not true. The schools do not get returned to become traditional schools. So parents, once you get caught in this charter loop, once your school is a charter, it's going to continue to be a charter. If one charter doesn't work out, another operator comes in and takes over. And if that doesn't work out, it's endless. Just a couple weeks ago, we had students walk out of one of our charters run by First Line Schools. Here are the reasons that the students walked out in this school. One, they didn't have enough books. The charters do not have to budget the same way that traditional public schools do. They're not held accountable for their money the way that we are. So the students were saying we don't have enough books. Now that tells you something if the students are the ones walking out for not having books. A second issue that caused them to walk out was the discipline policies. Charters are allowed to discipline however they please. There was a charter that shut down a couple years ago in New Orleans, Sophie Wright. Their suspension rate was 60%, 60%. That means out of all of the disciplinary write-ups, 60% of them resulted in suspensions. The state average for Louisiana is 5%. So the students were being disciplined for things like singing too loud in the cafeteria. And the charters can do that. They can say, well, we are no excuses, and this is our policy. And what happens is that is one way that they can deselect students, because the students and the parents can get tired of this and say, okay, we're leaving the charter. We want to go back traditional. And so charters are able to weed out students this way. Some of the charters are selective admission on the front end. Some of them do it in ways like this. We'll allow you in, but you have to keep a very high standard, or we're going to advise you. We're going to counsel you out. We'll counsel you to homeschool. We'll counsel you to select another school. The open enrollment in New Orleans is a joke. The idea of open enrollment, it's promoted as giving parents more choices. It does not give parents the choice in the way that you would think. For one, parents, if you're in New Orleans, you can't choose your neighborhood school automatically. You cannot get into the neighborhood school that way. You submit 3 choices. They will try to honor your first choice, but if your first choice isn't honored, second choice, you got to take into account issues of transportation, distance, that sort of thing. And I want to tell you again that you're not necessarily choosing a better school or one that would be considered along the lines of a magnet or something like that, a magnet school. Even though we have those, they're going to fill up fast. And those schools, many of those schools are selective admission. They can simply choose to have who they want in their schools. So open enrollment, if you have some image that open enrollment means you can just decide whatever school and walk in and enroll your child, that is not what we have in New Orleans. So I don't want you to think that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can tell you here. Really, let me encourage you to look on my blog, and I will spell it out for you. DEUTSCH29, Deutsch29.wordpress.com. I have articles by topic. If you go under RSD, you can read about the issues that plague RSD, Recovery School District. There is no recovery to Recovery School District. Recovery School District is not going away. It is its own permanent fixture. Our superintendent just became a corporation, and he bought his first piece of land so that he could expand the number of KIPP schools, KIPP, that's a charter chain. His goal is not to foster a healthy traditional public school system. It is to convert to a privatized system, for better or worse, and an unregulated privatized system. I think I've talked enough. I encourage you to read up on this topic, and I thank you for your time.